Hello, Miss Ashley. Good afternoon.
Hello, Freddie.
How you been?
I'm good.
It's been a while.
Yes, it has. Thank you for joining us, Freddie.
No problem. It's a pleasure. How's your daughter?
She's good. She's in the
Good,
back
good.
and she's loud.
Oh, oh, okay.
Hello, HCC Eagles. Thank you again for joining us for another wonderful event that we have. We are so truly amazed that you continuously come back to us day after day, week after week for our events. But today we're going to be talking about something that I think needs to be heard and talked about. So, as you know, it's February, it's the love month out there. It's, Valentine's Day, but it's also Dating Violence Awareness Month. So, as you get into those relationships and you're in them, things could get a little touchy, but we want to talk about healthy relationships today and what you're supposed to look for and what you're supposed to be in. So today we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us, Miss Stephanie McKenzie, who is the founder and of the relationship firm. Ms. McKenzie has worked with people such as Debbie Allen, Shaquille O'Neal, and nationally syndicated Tom Joyner Morning Show. So without further ado, I'd like to pass it over to Ms. Stephanie McKenzie to talk to us about these healthy relationships and what we're supposed to look for.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be here. Yes, I am Stephanie D. McKenzie, and I am the lead coach at the relationship firm. Additionally, when I was a little like, my experience with Debbie Allen and Shaquille O'Neal and all those lovely celebrities was in my marketing career. So I don't want people thinking that I actually coached them, but thank you so much for having me here. I think it's definitely something that we need to talk about, which is relationships, because everybody loves to get into relationships. Nobody really loves to get out of relationships. And I just wanted to lay a little bit of foundation for us to discuss. And unfortunately, this is also the time when the yard people have decided to show up. So yay! If you hear buzzing, that would be why. But I had just a few things that I wanted to touch on today because I think it's important for you all to understand what a relationship really should look like. I've worked with quite a few couples and singles over the years. I've actually been a relationship coach for 10 years professionally, and my mother says most of my life. And so I have a birthday next week. So that means I've been doing this for quite some time. And one of the things that I feel like is really challenging is what people perceive as normal in a relationship. Even as recently as yesterday, I asked a question to one of my groups on Facebook, and I said, do you think arguments are normal? Recently, I had a conversation with a prospective client, and they said, oh yeah, we do the normal things like argue. And I'm like, do we really think arguments are normal? And so oddly enough, in that group, they were like, yes, 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 yes. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but arguing in a relationship is not normal. It is not normal. Conflict is normal. Okay. Us having a difference of opinion. Maybe you want pizza, I want Chinese. Maybe you want kids, I don't. Maybe you want kids, I don't want them right now. Having conflict is a normal part of a relationship. When we lack the ability to de-escalate because maybe we're triggered, maybe we're honestly not emotionally or relationally mature enough to do so, that's when we escalate the conflict into an argument. But it's not normal. And we've got to stop thinking that it's normal to fuss and fight. It's really not. And so, like I said, some of the things that people think are normal behaviors, they're not normal behaviors. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit, and then you guys are going to be able to chat with me, and I'm really excited about that. And let's get into this. Okay. So like I said, one of my challenges in creating the narrative of healthy relationships is that people think dysfunction is normal. Like they have normalized dysfunction. And the problem with that is that You deserve more than a dysfunctional and what we often call misfunctional relationship. What's a dysfunctional and misfunctional relationship? It's one where we argue all the time. It's one where we can't have a conversation unless it's really light and surface without it becoming an argument. It's one where there could be financial abuse or emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, and unfortunately, domestic abuse. These are not normal things, but unfortunately, because of TV, reality TV, shows, movies, lots of things are normalized. The whole breakup to makeup situation. I'm like, don't do that. Do not do that. Yes, there is definitely, and I do way too many lives, y'all. So if your comments show up, I'm going to probably talk to them. Yes, there is a big difference between conflict and argument. And so I'm saying that to you is that if you're in a relationship and all we do is bicker, listen, I'm not going to say that it's not for you. What I'm going to say is that you brought some stuff into this relationship. They've brought some stuff into this relationship. And if you both are, watch my words, moderately healthy, that means that you're not trying to go into a pattern of abuse. That means that you have the same challenges that everyone else has. Maybe you've been hurt, or you feel like you've been abandoned, or you feel like you've been rejected, and you've taken some steps to deal with those pains. Okay. A person that's not moderately healthy is a whole different conversation. But let's get into that because we're supposed to talk about healthy relationships today. And for me, healthy relationships require three things. Okay. Well, they require more than three things, but for the sake of time, they require three things. The first thing they require is balance in effort and commitment. So for those of you who love to take notes, here you go. Balance in effort and commitment. So one of the things that we like to normalize is the construct of runner chaser, where, somebody's playing hard to get. And I'm like, okay, well, what do we do with that? Yes, we do. Sorry, guys, the lawn people are here. And I need them to move away from the door. Okay, so the challenge is that oftentimes, I'm about to get up and tell them to go away, is that, can you guys hear me? Y'all let me know. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're good.
Iola. So, okay, thank you so much, because that was driving me insane. So we've normalized this runner chaser thing. Somebody's playing hard to get. Oh, we just have to try harder. And I'm like, no. The precedent that you set in a relationship is probably the energy that's going to permeate it. So if you want this imbalanced relationship where you always have to do all the initiating of everything and nothing happens unless you do it, then fine. My question would be professionally, why? Why do you not seek balance? And oftentimes I give, clients and anybody I'm talking to the picture of a seesaw. Anybody? Seesaws? You ever been on a seesaw? If you've ever been on a seesaw and you've ever had the person on the other side jump off, how much fun was that? It wasn't. Your butt slammed to the ground so fast. And I don't care how much butt you got, okay? I don't care if you're doing the Busset Challenge every other day. That's your business. But if somebody jumps off of that seesaw and you slam to the earth, it hurts. And so honestly, we have the right to expect balance. We have the right to expect balance in the effort of building the relationship, of getting to know each other, and in the commitment to the relationship. The other thing on the side of that is that people need to recognize that even if it's not a committed relationship, an exclusive relationship, it's still a relationship. Our rule in-house is if you connect, communicate, or consummate, it's a relationship. And so being willing to understand what kind of relationship that you have, oftentimes the imbalance is just simply because of assumption. You assume that because you've been going out for the last 3 weeks that you're in an exclusive relationship, only to find out that not quite. Or you assume because you've had physical intimacy that, okay, we go together now. Do you though? Do you though? And so the other thing that becomes important in cultivating that balance is having hard conversations and asking hard questions and almost, get awkward with it, because this is your heart that we're talking about. This is your time. And I don't know about you, but there's nothing worse. I used to have a client, she would spend 6 to 9 months trying to figure out that, she's in a relationship and an exclusive relationship, only to find out that she wasn't. 6 to 9 months? Yeah, ain't nobody got time for that. Yes, communication is everything, but so is comprehension. Because how many times have you talked to somebody and you thought you said what you said, but they were like, that's not what they heard. So being willing to say, have a real conversation where you're exchanging thoughts and, what did you hear me say? And what do you think I'm saying? And risking that awkwardness of, you know what, if we have this conversation, maybe they don't want me anymore. Okay. Would you rather know that now? Or would you rather know that in a year? It's your call. So that's balance. We need our seesaw. Exactly. We want it now. And that's the other thing, I think that when it comes to this balance, a lot of times we've been taught, especially if you're a woman, if you're a guy, close your ears. But as women, we're often taught to not do things so he won't leave us. Don't call him so he won't leave you. Don't say this so he won't leave you. And I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, when you no longer fear somebody leaving you, it is so freeing. And you can ask all the questions you want to ask, and you can say all the things that you want to say, because you're not afraid of that. And the reason why you're not afraid of that is because what you know, and this is what you grow into, what you know, thank you, Catherine, is that it's okay. If you leave me, there'll be a retrograde. You'll try to come back. You'll slide in my DMs and say something to me on Facebook. That's fine. But if you leave my life, if my energy is not enough to satisfy you, if my presence doesn't excite you, then bye-bye. And that's okay. And we've got to learn to make that okay versus trying to do all this perfunctory performing so that somebody won't leave us. And I'm like, is that really working out though? And it can also be men doing the same thing. So it's not just women, but a lot of times this is what women are taught. All right, so that's balance. Next thing, a healthy relationship should be becoming to both parties. Again, we're talking about balance, but we're also talking about the construct of making you better. See, a lot of times how you know a relationship isn't healthy is because it's not healthy for you. You've gotten into this relationship and maybe you had money and now you don't. Or maybe you were at peace and now you're not. These are the telltale signs. When you're knee deep in anxiety because you never know what this person is going to say or do, that is a sign that this relationship is not becoming to you. Because if you've ever seen somebody that's in a happy relationship, a legitimately happy relationship, not a Facebook happy relationship, not a Gram happy relationship, not a Snapchat happy relationship, but a legitimately happy relationship that does still have its ups and downs, that person is probably better for that connection. They're learning and they're changing. And there's an exchange there that they both get better. If they get better and you get worse, who's winning? I will never forget the conversation I had with the guy I was with for 10 years. I'm about to tell y'all my business. It's okay. And of course, this is about 20 years ago. So I will never forget the conversation that we had. And I was like, hey, let's bring this thing into some closure. Let's have a final conversation. Okay, great. Listen, it sounded like he was in a totally different relationship. Totally different. He was happy. Everything was great. And I was like, okay. Now I did that in my 20s. I did that from age 20 to age 30, literally 10 years of my life. And I stayed in it, despite the fact that I wanted out of it at 6 months, because I was doing something called chasing the good. And I hate to be the one to break it to you, but most relationships are good in the beginning. When I sit down with a client and they say, yeah, we want to get back to X, Y, and Z. And I say, okay, well, when was that? And they say, when we first started dating, pause. Because when we first start dating is when things are good. The measure of a relationship really is shaping in adversity. Until you see how they handle anger, exactly, honeymoon phase. Till you see how they handle anger, sadness, grief, fear, doubt, disappointment, until you have that engagement with them, you're just on cloud nine, or cloud denial, because that honeymoon phase, as I think that was Serene I saw that came up, that honeymoon phase has you thinking, okay, great. The honeymoon phase is your opportunity to get to know the person, to have a good time, to engage in conversation, to see if you want to go forward. But please trust and believe that we cannot build a relationship on honeymoon phases, because you don't know anything about the person. And you really don't know a person until you see how they handle sadness and madness. Sadness and madness are your keys. That's when you see the person that you're actually with and how they respond. And so if you don't like that, if for some reason they become somebody that you don't care for when they're mad or when they're sad, then you're challenged. And you might have to make some decisions. But listen, I've worked with people who were in these whirlwind relationships, which could also be a love bomb. We'll talk about that in a minute. You're in this whirlwind relationship, and then the minute they said, wait, we're going way too fast, the person was angry. Well, now if we're in this relationship together and we want this to be good for the both of us, why are you angry that I want to slow down? These are the types of things. This is why we wait. We don't wait because Steve Harvey said there's a 90-day rule, because that's stupid. We wait in order to see if our attraction and our interest and our like can actually become something that's not just built on heat and us looking cute on Instagram. We're looking for substance. Honestly, we sometimes we ask the wrong questions. Sometimes we're like, okay, can you love me? Well, no. The question is, can I love myself as I love you? I said to a group the other day that part of the challenge with relationships is that our self-love level begins to fall. I never believe people don't love themselves. Our self-love level begins to fall because we become so entrenched in the relationship. And I'm like, there's no way that that's going to ever work, because in all things, the way I am or am not loving myself is going to be reflected back to me with the person that I'm with. So when I talk about a healthy relationship is becoming to both of us, that means that there's a great dose of, going back to the balance of selfishness, which is what I happen to call self-love and making sure you put yourself first, and selflessness, where I'm vested in our relationship and I'm trying to do things that make the other person happy, which is fine. What's not fine is that you're so deeply entrenched in a relationship that all you're doing is trying to make the other person happy, to the point where you no longer make you happy, which means they're having the relationship of a lifetime, more than likely, because you're a rock star and that's just how you get down. But you're not having the love of a lifetime, because you stop loving yourself. So if you get into this relationship or a relationship or your next relationship or a new relationship, and you start losing your rituals. We don't say habits and routines, we say rituals. You start losing your rituals. Maybe you don't go to the gym anymore. Maybe you don't read anymore. Maybe you spend all your time waiting for them to call or for their green light to pop up on Facebook. Listen, keep that same energy and turn it into yourself, because that's what's missing. And while you're sitting there going, gosh, I really need to fix this relationship, the real deal is that the person, and the only person you can ever fix, is you. Period. And even in fixing yourself, the truth of the matter is there's nothing wrong with you. There just may need to be some things that you bring into alignment, that you rewrite or that you release, so that you can actually be your best self. And you can't be your best self deeply entrenched in a relationship. Exactly. It always backfires. It's not for you to do. It's not for you to fix another person. You can't be so deeply entrenched in we that you forget about she or he, meaning you. So if you're a she, that's you. If you're a he, that's you. And whatever we is, that's your business. All right, last thing. Let's see how much time. Oh, yeah. We got good time. Last thing, healthy is being willing to evolve. Being willing to evolve. So we've got healthy relationship is balanced. So healthy is balanced. in effort and commitment? It is, definitely. Yeah, it's like a ladder. I like that. And then it's becoming to both of you, again, that's balance, but it's becoming to both of you where it makes you better. And then lastly, being willing to evolve as a relationship, being willing to evolve. And often what I've said to people is that the mascot, and I know some of you are married and some of you aren't, but at some point, if you want to get married, you got to date. So work with me here. The mascot for a successful marriage is Simone Biles. Y'all know Simone Biles, Olympic gymnast. She's about this tall. She does really crazy things in the air. And people always ask me why. And I say, yes, thank you, Iris. And people say, why? And I say, watch this. Because she's flexible, she's creative, she's innovative, and because of that, she can make her own moves. That's the challenge of being in a relationship. Like going up the ladder, sometimes you might decide we don't want to do a ladder. And so that willingness to evolve, listen, this is evolve or die. Honestly, when it comes to really building a long-term relationship that lasts, that has longevity, that is healthy with two moderately healthy people, it's about being willing to evolve. If somebody wants you to stay just like you were maybe 2 years ago, that might be a problem. You're a human being and you might learn things and you might transform and you might develop new beliefs. And that has to be okay if someone wants to continue to be with you. They should be evolving too. Just a thing. But sometimes when we get into unhealthy relationships, especially if they've been that way for quite some time, they want us to stay the way that we were, If maybe at some point, and I don't know how old everybody is, but maybe if you were with them and maybe you were in school and you had more time for them, or maybe you weren't in school and you had more time for them. Now you are in school and you don't have as much time, then they're upset about that. Well, listen, it's okay to be upset if I want to spend time with you and I can't, but it's not okay to condescend. It's not okay to degrade your process. I've had students, that have told me that when they decided to go back to school, nobody supported them. These are students with husbands and wives and children. Nobody supported them. You deserve to be supported. And the person that should support you should be the one that, that you're in a relationship with, an exclusive committed relationship with. The person that says they want to spend time with you and build with you should be supportive of your decision to evolve or to do new things, as long as they aren't, illegal or immoral. They should be supportive, right? A support system is super important, and a lot of times this is where our downfall comes, because we don't expect to be supported, and we find that we're not supported, and we don't go out and curate a new support system. Listen, I'm going to tell you, you have the right, 2 divine birthrights, I say all the time. First divine birthright, that you have it's your divine birthright to be loved, cared for, and cherished properly. Not as an afterthought, not as a might as well, not as, oh well, not with the energy of excitement. You deserve to have somebody be excited about you. Yes. Like when your phone call comes in there, it'll be like, yes, you deserve that. Okay. The second thing is that you truly have the right, the divine birthright, to be supported and surrounded by people that want to see you win, and not because they're going to win too. That last part is so key, because sometimes people will root for you and cheer you on because they know that if you win, they're going to win too. No. The last part is key. Surrounded and supported by those who want to see you win, and not because they're going to win too. And the truth of the matter is that though we talk about it in a romantic context, we can have unhealthy, some like to use the word toxic, platonic, as well as romantic relationships. You can have toxic friends. You can have a toxic boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, husband, wife. And lastly, the thing that we don't talk about, you can have a toxic family member. And oftentimes we don't talk about that toxic family member that likes to say things to you or is emotionally abusive because we let it go because, oh, well, that's your uncle. Well, that's your dad. Well, that's your mom. And I'm not saying that you have to cut them off, but I am saying that you don't have to endure that. You really don't have to endure that. And so this is where boundaries become key. This is where turning inward and realizing what you need and recognizing that that is a priority becomes so key. So hopefully, between being balanced in effort and in commitment, I keep saying that, being balanced in effort and commitment, becoming, having a relationship that is becoming to you both, that makes you happy, that makes you smile. Let me correct that really quickly. It should make you happy. It should add to your happiness. So I need you to be happy on your own. Because there's no reason why a person that comes into your life should have to create all of your happiness. So I need you to be healthy and happy on your own, so you'll attract somebody in that's healthy and happy on their own. And that way we can be becoming to each other. And then lastly, being willing to evolve is so key. If you want longevity in a relationship, we are not going to be the same people that we were in 6 months, in a year, in 10 years. You're not going to be the same. Just as you have changed, if you look back and say, okay, this is who I was at 18, you might be 20 now. You're like, wow, I'm a totally different person. And that has to be okay. That has to be okay. But in the end, make sure that you are supported and surrounded and that you are deeply committed to ensuring that you are loved and cared for properly. And that is how we have healthy relationships. And I hope that this is something that would help you move forward. Thank you guys for loving and learning with me. And now I'm open for questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So coming through, someone asked, what about healthy relationships and their families? Like, how do you deal with that? Keeping your relationship with your significant other healthy, however, you have these outside sources of family.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yes, got it. That's a difficult one, but not insurmountable. And I'm going to tell you why. At some point, there comes a decision. How am I? Because if I want this relationship and I want this relationship to continue to grow. Yeah. Jared says in-laws. Yeah. And you've got toxic in-laws, or you've got bitter in-laws, or people who've never been loved properly. So they want to poo-poo on your love platter. Yeah. So it becomes incumbent to create real boundaries. And I don't mean like, oh yeah, well, we're just not going to talk to them at the barbecue. It's like real boundaries in terms of, okay, we can talk to them about these issues, but maybe not these issues. Or maybe we just don't talk to them about these issues at all. There's a spectrum here. There's a lot of actionable steps you can take contingent upon how toxic it is. Like if it's a question of, I've had a few clients, like when somebody calls them, they know what they're going to want to talk about. So sometimes they just don't take the call. If it's a question of gathering, then okay, how do we gather with our family members knowing that the toxic person is here? Then it could require a little bit more of a logistical touch, in that maybe you and your spouse or you and your significant other are only there until that person shows up.
Got it. Somebody in the chat said, how do you communicate best with someone who is emotionally sensitive?
Well, that depends what the sensitivity is. I do too many lives. So when stuff pops up, I'm like,
oh, okay, you got
No, I'm here for it, Ashley. I'm here. It's just like normal. Like, okay, so I'm here. The question would be why? Because, some people are emotionally immature. And so if you say anything to them, they'll take it as, oh, you're attacking me. Oh, you don't like me. Oh, so they ascribe meaning to critiques and criticisms. That means they're not actually they're not that moderately healthy person that I'm talking about. And so the question becomes, well, getting to the root of why. Because the person may not even know that they're doing this, honestly. But if they're aware of it, then the question becomes, well, what are you going to do about this? Because this is not helping you maneuver through this relationship. And it's probably not helping you maneuver through most of your relationships. So in that, how do you communicate with them? ask them why they are sensitive. And in that, here's a turn of phrase. Hey, sometimes when I talk to you, it feels like I might be triggering you, or you may be offended by what I'm saying. Can you help me understand why that might be? Now, if they get all up in arms and start cussing and throwing things, then you may need to make some different decisions. But if you ask them in a calm, nice way and you use coaching as a tool, sometimes you might get the answers that you seek.
Got it. Okay. Someone wants to know, can you recommend a book on the topic of healthy relationships, of the things that you discuss?
I mean, besides my own.
Well, what is that? So we can type that in the chat.
I know, right? I wrote, my first book was called The Book of Bye, and it was 12 little things that might end a relationship that are no big deal. It's on Amazon. But the reason why I say that is because it gave you the choice to mend it or end it. It gave you like 12 different vignettes to mend it or end it. Apart from that, I would probably look at, let's see. What is the title of that book? Probably maybe something by Stéphane Labossière, who is another coach. If it's marital in nature, I would probably recommend looking at is it the Gottman Institute? So there's a few. There's not one that's like my go-to, because again, I got my own stuff, but definitely if there's a particular topic you have in mind, then I mean a good mainstay is Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, but that's a classic.
All right. Let's see. Okay, yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself. And some of them want to ask their own questions, so I'm gonna step back and there y'all.
Okay, let's get it.
Sorry, Miss Rose. It's because okay, I have in my family, kind of okay, there's one of I call him a brother because we grew up together, and right now he has a girlfriend and stuff.
Okay.
So in a few, I don't know how long, but he's gonna we grew up together. His mom passed away, but we've been taking care of his family and stuff.
Okay.
So kind of soon he's my mom is kind of like his mom, because his mom and his mom and mine kind of they are both from the same country, Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
So soon I'm gonna want to get to know his girlfriend and stuff, because she's gonna maybe one day bring her over here. So my question is how would I want to know, for example, for just someone said about in-laws, okay, so how will I know this person will be the right person for this young man and stuff? Do you see my question?
I do. And as much as I want to say that, it's it's not your call.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's so not your call. This is his life and his decision to make. And yes, I know of the cultural mores and traditions, but it's not your call. If you insert yourself into the relationship like that, you might run the risk of him not wanting to deal with you.
Okay.
So what you can do, wait, I'm not done. You can do a covert operation. Just have casual conversation and see what she says. Pull out scenarios like, one of my friends was arguing with his girlfriend and I told him that wasn't right, but she was yelling at him. What do you think about that? You can have these little casual conversations to see what she's going to say. So you just kind of slide it in versus, an inquisition. Just have a conversation. Ask her really hard questions. There's a game. It's called Couple Up. Yep, that's probably it. There's a game called Couple Up, and there's other games where you can ask that have relationship questions. If you want, grab a deck, and just get a question when you meet her. Don't pull out the deck in front of her, but have a question or three in your back pocket. I'm going to get these questions answered today. Okay, great. And then that way you're kind of interviewing her, but it's not so dogmatic that it looks like you're trying to take over, because you don't want that energy, but you want to see, okay, Let me take a greater look at her. Okay, but it's got to be a covert operation, not an overt operation.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Stephanie, we have someone that said, how can I cut someone off my life when they have already told me they are not ready for commitment, but they are still showing affection and love signals towards me?
Well, they're showing them because you're allowing them. See, at some there's now I could be wrong, but there's a part of that person that feels like at some point they may change their mind. So let me just hold on until they do. Here's the thing. When someone tells you they're not ready for a relationship, you got two options. Either you hang out and meet them where they are, or you continue to, or you move on. You know, you continue your life and you move on. Okay. And if anything in the middle is just going to continually cause friction. So if you can hang out with them and take in their affection without getting twisted up, is the word I'm going to use, and still recognizing, oh, this person doesn't want an exclusive relationship with me, but you know, I do enjoy spending time with them, then okay, great. If you feel as if you're resentful because, okay, why are you here? Well, I'm here because you let me be here. If you don't want me to be, if you don't want that person to be there, then there's an app for that. And it simply goes like this. Hi, you know what? I've decided that I would really like to find someone to be in a relationship with, and you take up entirely too much emotional real estate for me to do that. So I'm going to fall back, and I would appreciate it if you didn't contact me anymore.
Damn. What about saving a relationship with unhealthy people who don't put in any effort?
Are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Ah, okay.
Family.
That's a hard one. I've had quite a few clients like that. I'm going to say something that's going to sound horrible, but sometimes just because you share DNA with people doesn't make them family. You have a biological link to individuals. It doesn't make them family. Family is loyal. Family is same thing that I said about a romantic relationship, that they're excited about you. They want to see you win. It's balanced. It helps you be better. We've got to stop accepting that just because we share DNA and blood with somebody, that they have the right to have a dysfunctional relationship with us. They don't. Sometimes you just go out and make you a new family. Not a popular opinion, but what's the alternative? If they're not going to put in any effort, they're not going to repair the rift, they're not going to celebrate you, you're only being tolerated, and that's a cardinal rule. I only go where I'm celebrated and not where I'm tolerated. So then what do? Sometimes we just put people in proper context and build ourselves connections that will feed our soul. And I realize that sounds cliche, but as someone who went out and built her own family, I'm a huge proponent of that.
All right. How to communicate with someone who likes to give up easily, or would it be something that I just need to let go?
Well, what does that mean? Do they let go of the conversation? Like they give up on the conversation, or they give up on the relationship? Like what exactly do they give up on?
Okay. So whoever asked that question, give us a follow-up inside of the chat.
Yes, please give us a follow-up.
We have a statement as well in regards to the family. I'm the youngest of 7. I have been my mom's only care since I was 18. I'm now 35, married with 1 child. My older siblings have always neglected my mom pre-COVID. They probably called my mom once every 3 to 4 months since I was young. I was always the one sending reminders to my siblings to call my mom on special occasions like her birthday, Christmas, Mother's Day. Since COVID, they only call her asking for money or to brag about a purchase. Wow. My mom gets really depressed and I try to cheer her up as much as I can. I don't have any communication with my siblings, but what can I do? What can I do to help my mom's relationships with my older siblings? I have learned to not get mad with my siblings about the way they treat my mom. My husband and daughter made the decision to give my mom twice as much attention and love. My mother is the most caring and loving person I have ever met. I don't understand why my siblings treat my mother this way. So she wants to know, what can she do to talk to her siblings to have them have a better relationship with the mother?
She can't. See, this is where this caping comes in. This is why I talk about being your own superhero, because that is you trying to save and rescue a situation that it is not your responsibility to save and rescue. I get it. It's family. You're the youngest. You got the siblings. You want to treat your mom better. Here's the thing. You won't fix that. And fixing folks, people pleasing and enabling the entitled is what happens when you put on a cape. The best thing that you can do, and you might, and I'm confident enough that I know you can take all, some, or none of what I'm saying, and it'll be okay. But since I'm here, the reality of the situation is that you can't fix this. You're trying to fix it because that's been a huge part of your narrative. And it's a huge part of how you're validating yourself. And yes, you want your siblings to do better with your mom, but that's not on you. The only thing you can do is do better with your mom. And you've been doing the best job possible. And so maybe it's more helpful to pour more into her, and maybe, creating an environment where she understands what's going on outside of her, so that she too can feel validated without the energy of your siblings coming into play. Both of you are in need of just love and affection and healing, and you can give that to each other because the relationship would allow you to do so.
How important is loyalty in a relationship? A lot of people around believe loyalty is a requirement to have in a relationship, but personally, I don't expect loyalty from anyone from the beginning. I would like to hear your opinion on that.
Depends what you define as loyalty. Some people define loyalty different ways. Sometimes they define it as trust. Yeah, we can see it, Audrey. Some people define it as trust. Some people define it as honesty. Some people define it as trustworthiness, where you actually do what you say you're going to do. It really depends on how you define it. But should you expect it from the jump? Well, it depends on how you define it. And if you define it as somebody doing what they say they're going to do, then yeah, you should expect that. If you're saying that you don't expect them to just want to be with you and you only from the jump, well, that does actually make a little bit of sense until you've had those conversations. So I would be curious to know what the definition of loyalty is in that context.
How do you get your partner to communicate with you during a fight? Normally he just sits, lets me talk, and he doesn't say anything but okay, only because he wants to stop fighting. Should I learn not to care and stop being the only one to fix the problem?
Well, first of all, so we have this thing called Fight Right, and there are some standards. There we go. I was looking for the word. Standards and expectations that we set pre-fight. Now, when we say fight, we mean conflict. We do not mean argument, because arguments, again, are not normal. So in that, what are the expectations that have been set when there is a conflict? Do we talk about it then? How do we talk about it? Do we step away? Do we say, hey, I got a little issue. Can we talk about it on Thursday? We call that marked time, Thursday at 7 p.m., so that this person is in the best possible space. Unfortunately, when we're upset, a lot of times we pounce on the person and they may not be ready to deal with that. Additionally, it might be triggering for them if they grew up in a household where arguments escalated and escalated and escalated. So I would love to get to the bottom of why they seem to be so passive, but also in that, I would like to see you guys set expectations of how we handle conflict pre-fight. So that way you can do what's best for you both, as opposed to I'm just going to do what's best for me and I'm going to get this off my chest and you shouldn't have sat here. So
I have a question, because, I'm married. And so when you go to marriage counseling, you don't go to bed mad at each other and blah, blah, blah. And so I can never do that. I'm mad, I'm upset, I'm going to bed mad. But what is your takes on that? Do you let it go before you go to bed? Do you go to bed and think about it and you wake up in the morning to discuss? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so seminarian hat. Yes, I know where that comes from. Don't let the sun go down on your wrath. It is in scripture. That's where it comes from. Here's the thing though. Pragmatically speaking, you might get mad at 9 o'clock. we're not going to stay up all night and deal with this issue so we don't go to bed mad. This is why we set expectations pre-fight. So we know how to handle things like, okay, if I'm having an issue, do we step away from the table? If we step away, how long? Is it 24 hours? Is it 2 hours? When do we come back and discuss it? If it's late at night, do we talk about it the next day? Or do we give it a couple of days? Understanding how your person, and a lot of things go into how people deal with conflict. Everything from love languages to learning styles to their home life, their family of origin. So understanding the best way to communicate is key. But these cardinal rules about don't let the sun go down and don't go to bed angry, if that doesn't work for your relationship, that doesn't work for your marriage, then it doesn't work. Do what you need to do. I know why they say that, but do what you need to do, what works for you both.
Got it. Do we have any other questions for Miss Stephanie? I think that we have gone through them.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's not based on my experience, but it's a friend.
Okay.
She recently she's been in a 2-year relationship with a friend, with her boyfriend, I mean.
Yeah.
And she cheated on him, but she came open about it and they worked through it. But then recently she found out that from a girl that he tried to cheat on her by he was sending nudes to another girl.
Oh.
And they broke up, but she's thinking about working it out with him. I personally don't think to people who have cheated or tried to an attempt to cheat should stick together, but she seems like she wants to work it out with him. I mean, it's not my relationship, but she has asked me for advice on it, but I don't know how to tell her that.
How old?
22.
How old is he?
21.
Okay, so here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Until you reach about 25, 26, your brain hasn't finished forming yet. And so you don't make the best decisions. So unless these individuals are going to get married, which they probably aren't, the cheating is indicative of a lack of focus. So whatever was driving her to do that, it'll probably drive her to do that again. Whatever drove him to do that, it may drive him to do that again until they mature to the point where they could actually be loyal. Because I mean, come on, you're sending nudes, bro. Like, okay. Until they can mature, there's no point. This will just continue to go on and on and on and on. They're going to have to get to the root cause as to why that even happened in the first place. And I doubt either of them can explain why it happened to the point of getting back together. I would personally just say, work on yourself, because I mean, if that's something, if you did it, you could do it again. And if it's a pattern of behavior on her part, as well as his, but you're asking about your friend, so I won't focus on her. If it's a pattern of behavior, then that may be something that she needs to deal with in terms of, okay, well, why do I cheat? Or why do I think about cheating? Or why do I get bored easily? Which could just simply be the fact that she's 22.
That's what I was thinking, that she's not thinking right. I just didn't want her to make her feel like I'm against her. But yeah.
You know what? You don't have to give her any answers. What you could say to her is, hey, think about it and I'll support whatever you decide. However, if you feel like you want to cheat again or whatever drove you to cheat, maybe get to the bottom of that before you get back into any relationship. But make sure you say, I'll support whatever you decide, because it's not on you. You're just a friend.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hope that helps.
It does.
Miss Stephanie. Sorry, I have one question.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a family member. and that's why it's really close to me. But somebody actually asked on the text kind of similar thing. If somebody doesn't talk, like when you have like a fight or something, and then when you confront them, they don't say, they just let you talk, and they just say yes to maybe to shut you down or whatever.
Yeah.
But so this family member, she's actually married, and
Okay.
her husband, he's hardworking, good man. But I mean, no one is perfect. He has flaws, and every time like she tries to confront him, like to communicate, so before the issue actually escalates, he never likes to confront, or he just kind of shuts down, gets emotional, just
Okay.
like not inviting to any kind of communication. So I actually told her maybe they could try counseling, but he doesn't believe in counseling either. So
Of course not.
I don't know what would you say in that case? Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Same thing. Conflict can be very triggering for individuals. Without knowing what went on in his family, it's kind of hard to look at that. But there is the thing, listen, there are a few things I want you to take from this that I didn't discuss in the balanced becoming and being willing to evolve. And that is love bombing, gaslighting, and stonewalling. And those are three highly dysfunctional behaviors. What is stonewalling? That's when somebody just they just shut down. Like you're trying to talk to them, they just shut down. Gaslighting is when they say, oh, no, that didn't happen. Oh, you're making that up. What is, da da da. Love bombing is when the honeymoon phase begins to move really, really fast, and you're not a participant in the movement. Meaning that they're like, oh my God, everything's amazing, and we're just going to be together, and we're going to move in, and you feel like you're in a red wagon being drugged down a hill. Okay. That is, now, if you have genuine chemistry with somebody and things are just clicking and that's good, if you're an active participant in the movement of the relationship, great. If you feel like you're being drugged along in a wagon down a hill, that's bad. So those are three things I want you to think about. In that, I bring up stonewalling because a lot of people do that because they don't know how to manage conflict. Because going back to, I think, one of the first questions, sometimes they think that they're being accused of something, or that something is wrong with them, and they can't handle, that being said to them. They can't handle the criticism. Getting to the bottom of that is key. It's always important, what we say in the office, you trace the trigger so you can face the trigger. And usually the trigger is not the current situation. It goes back to childhood, maybe even adolescence, even maybe teenage years. And they have decided that this is how I handle conflict, not realizing how destructive that can be. See, some people say, well, we're not arguing, so we're dealing with the conflict because we're just not going to talk about the conflict. It's like, there's no conflict here. There's no conflict here. I don't see it. Meanwhile, there's conflict here. Like, there's conflict here. And it doesn't matter that you don't see it, because y'all see this, it's right here.
Yes.
But they're so desperately afraid to argue that they shut it down, or they're so desperately afraid of being criticized or critiqued that they shut it down. On the flip side, sometimes it is a question of how the conflict is being brought up. And so if it's being brought up in a fit of rage, if it's being brought up at yelling, condescending, accusatory, blaming, that is going to shut somebody down as well. So it's just a question of what is happening really, and why is it happening on both sides.
Eagles, I want to let you know there is a link that we just dropped in the chat. We have an intimate session tomorrow with Miss Stephanie. We have limited space. It is only for 12 students. You also will be receiving a free copy of her new book, Be Your Own Superhero. And this is tomorrow at 1 p.m., an intimate session. So the first 12 students to get that link, sign up, will be in our intimate session tomorrow. And so it will tell you if it doesn't allow you to log in and get in, that means we have hit the 12. So go ahead, click that link, sign up, and then so that way we can have an extended intimate session tomorrow with Miss Stephanie. Yeah. And they want to know, is it an ebook or a hard copy? Oh, well, it will be a hard copy book.
It's a hard copy. Yeah, it's coming in mail.
That will be getting it. It will come directly to their homes. It will be a hard copy book. So go ahead, click the link and get in there.
Go.
So do that now.
We need to wrap up.
Yeah, so I wish my parents listened to you speak about healthy relationships. So, Miss Stephanie, this was an awesome session. Like, y'all Eagles, y'all had them questions coming, going. And we are so excited that you all were so engaged with our speaker and with our event. Remember, we have more events coming up within the next couple of weeks that are going to be open and for you to ask questions to learn different things. So I want to thank you, Miss Stephanie, so much for giving your time to us here at HCC. And I'm sure that we were going to have you back on again, because the students will let us know. If they like somebody, they're going to be like, hey, you know, that lady, Miss Stephanie, we want her back. So I'm pretty sure you're going to be back with us. And so we thank you so much. My Eagles, this is an event that you can get points for. So if you have attended this event, you will get your 1 point for this event. Please allow 24 to 48 hours for it to populate. And I also want to let you know, make sure you go to Eagle Experience, hccs.presence.io. That way you'll find out about all of the events. So you guys have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Hi. Hi. Stephanie? Right.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I sent you a private message.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Miss Stephanie, I could get your autograph because I see your book already.
You're so sweet.
Yep.
Wait a minute. I don't see it, Audrey. Can y'all see it? No, you sent it to me. Wait, direct message. I don't see it. It doesn't mean anything. It's probably in here somewhere. Okay, I'm going to go catch it.
Miss Audrey, if you want to send it to her again before we end.
I think is that okay? Okay. Oh, okay. Do we get a transcript of the chats? Yeah, we can. Yeah.
I think we can pull that. We'll have to. Would you want a transcript of the chats?
I do, so I can see.
I think we can get that to you once it downloads. We'll be able to give it to you.
I appreciate that, because then I can see, because I see it now. I closed the chat so I wouldn't look at them. But yeah, this was great, guys. Thank you so much. And hopefully you remember that at the end of the day, all relationships matter and you have the right to be loved, cared for, and cherished properly. So my pleasure to serve you. And I'll see some of you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
So the message.